welcome back to Concept Cinema. I'm Sarah Barclay.
And I'm Emily McTire. Today we are making this video to share with you guys our Oscar picks and predictions for the upcoming Academy Awards this Sunday at 7 on ABC. Also, before we go any further, we haven't seen every single thing on this list. That's so many movies. Of our picks and predictions we're basing off of what we've seen, what we've heard, and just kind of other reviews and things that are floating around out there.
So we're going to start off with actor in a leading role. And our nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out, Gary Oldman from Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington from Roman J. Israel Esquire.
So I think our picks are the same person. We've got down Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name. This kid.
Yeah, this kid.
He was amazing. First of all, he's like, what, 20?
He's 22.
22.
He's 22. He learned Italian, piano, guitar.
Yeah. And also, like, got into that character.
Like, what doesn't this kid do?
He's amazing. And I think, prediction-wise, I feel like he might get it.
Either him or Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out. That's just my...
Next is actor in a supporting role. And we've got Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards.
I think it could go either way with Willem Dafoe, Woody Harrelson, or Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, and I don't really have a preference for any of these, because actually the only movie out of this list that I've seen is The Shape of Water. So I know from previous award shows and things, Sam Rockwell's been sweeping this up for this category. So that's my prediction. I feel like they're probably going to give it to him again.
But we've also heard that people really enjoyed Willem Dafoe's performance in Florida Project and possibly say that it's his best performance.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? He could win, he could not. Possible.
Fingers crossed for him.
For next, we have actress in a leading role. We have Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards, Margot Robbie for My Tanya, Saoirse Ronan from Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep from The Post.
Okay, so I loved I, Tanya. And I'm still confused and sort of upset as to why it didn't make the Best Picture list, because I feel like it's definitely worthy of that, in my opinion. So my preference for actress in a leading role is definitely Margot Robbie. I thought she was phenomenal.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Looking into behind the scenes, Margot Robbie spent 5 months learning how to ice skate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she played that type of character where when you're watching the movie, you forget that it's the actor or the actress.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it was insane watching it and realizing, yeah, that's not the real Tanya Harding. that is Margot Robbie doing that.
Yeah, she completely molded into her.
That was like, oh.
Yeah, so that's my pick, and hopefully my prediction.
That is my prediction. Margot Robbie.
But I also feel like, same with Sam Rockwell, Frances McDormand swept up all the awards for this nomination in previous award shows, so that's also another one of my predictions. I feel like she might get it.
Next we have actress in a supporting role. We have Mary J. Blige from Mudbound, Allison Janney from My Tanya, Leslie Manville from Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf from Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer from The Shape of Water. But you and me, we have these same predictions and picks.
Yes.
Because we're that much in sync.
Neither of us have seen Lady Bird yet, but that one's it's got a lot of buzz for Laurie Metcalf. I know a lot of people want her to win. But also Allison Janney.
Allison Janney's just fantastic.
Yeah, and again, she was one of those characters where you just completely forgot. And that Tanya's mom as a human being is just insane. So,
but that's also kind of like Allison Janney's best kind of character is somebody who, not somebody you would expect to actually be a real person. Mm-hmm. And she just does it phenomenally.
Yeah. So, I'm good either way with those.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so next we have the animated feature film category. The nominees of those are The Boss Baby, The Boss Baby.
Can we just take a second and just acknowledge that The Boss Baby is on this, and neither of us thought that that was actually a legit movie when it was coming out?
Okay, but the nominees, we got...
Okay.
The Boss
okay.
Baby.
Tangent over, okay.
Okay, we got The Boss Baby, The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent. My pick for this category, personally, I loved the aesthetics of Loving Vincent, because that's something I'd never seen before. Every single frame was oil painted, hand painted, to look like the style of Van Gogh's painting.
And that's an hour and a half movie, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a long movie.
So that was a lot of effort that went into that, and I agreed that Loving Vincent should win something, but
sadly it's the only thing
that it's nominated for. So I do want it to win. I also want Coco to win.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, as far as story goes, Coco is Pixar, so automatically it's going to be this lovely, lovely story. I've also heard, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that Coco is up there with their best. And with Loving Vincent, it was a very beautiful movie, very time-consuming, very effortful movie, but the story itself was not as captivating as I think it could have been to match something that's, but like the aesthetic of it kind of balances that out. But I think Coco is Pixar. Pixar is always wonderful. Yeah. So it'll probably go in that.
But given the nature of things, it's most likely going to The Boss Baby. It is, and it hurts me to say it, but that's...
They just want the chance to say The Boss Baby has won an Academy Award. Alright, so our next category is cinematography, and nominated for that we have Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, and The Shape of Water. I don't really have a preference for any of these.
The cinematography was pretty great for all of them. It changed depending on what they're trying to do.
Yeah. But I think, as far as prediction goes, I'm going to go with Blade Runner 2049, because I feel like that movie set out to accomplish something with their cinematography.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that it was very well done and very well earned.
I think I'm going to agree with you there with Blade Runner, but I think it could also go to Dunkirk. It was beautifully done. It almost felt like it was that immersive. Either Blade Runner or Dunkirk, easily. So next up we have costume design. And those nominees are Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, and Victoria and Abdul. It's either fantasy, sci-fi, or period.
So they all definitely have their own categories of excellency.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and predict that either Phantom Thread or The Shape of Water.
Well, Phantom Thread is all about fashion, so you'd expect it
so it's high up there already.
It has the high expectation that the costumes need to look good. It needs to look like it's a fashion designer is doing them. And then The Shape of Water using the costume from Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was a beautiful costume. Aside from that, though, you had the era dress and everything, which was really good. But as far as like an overall amazing costume department, I feel like Phantom Thread would probably get that.
Next up, we have directing. We got Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, and The Shape of Water.
I've heard a lot of buzz about Get Out and Lady Bird.
I have too, yeah.
Mainly because Greta Gerwig is up for Lady Bird, and she would be one of the very few women nominated. Again, we haven't seen this one yet, but we've heard amazing things, and it's good enough to be up on this list, it's definitely good enough to win. Same with Get Out. Jordan Peele, a lot of people are rooting for him to get this. And again, haven't seen it, but have heard that it's phenomenal, and that his style of directing and his accuracy to all of the timeliness of the message from that movie is definitely something profound and something to be awarded. I also think with The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro did a very, very good job, I thought, of combining a lot of different styles all into one film, because he's got fantasy and romance, musical at one point. Yeah, sci-fi, horror, thriller. It's like all of it shoved into one, and it's still very hilarious and heartbreaking, and it's just a million different things all at once, and I think that takes a lot of talent to carry a story that far.
Oh yeah. We're gonna skip over documentary feature and documentary short subject, as neither of us have seen any or enough of each to really have an opinion.
So next up, I think this is probably our personal favorites.
As editors ourselves.
Yeah. Our next category is film editing. And for the nominees, we have Baby Driver, Dunkirk, I, Tonya, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, I think we both agree that Baby Driver honestly should and probably will get it. Between the audio syncing, the flashbacks, or
just the overall
the
pacing
dream sequences, and the pacing is fantastic. And anyone that knows me knows that pacing for me
pet peeve.
major pet peeve, because if it's off, I'm taken out of the movie. So this one, I was like hooked on the edge of my seat, watching the entire time. The dream sequences, it was completely beautiful and well timed, all that. And then even the title sequence was fantastic, because that was a running shot for about 3 minutes, synced to an entire song, with the graffiti in the background being the lyrics to the song that was playing. Need I say more?
Beautiful. And I think if Baby Driver doesn't get it, my secondary pick is I, Tonya. One, because, as I already said, I love this movie with all of my heart, and I want it to win something. But also, again, it was one of those where it's like the pacing was fantastic, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire movie. Whether it was a dialogue scene where it was just 2 people going back and forth, or a skating routine, it had a wonderful pace. A lot of times it was really quick, which I think, in a way, between the editing, the directing, and acting.
Oh yeah.
Just the whole presentation of this movie, I feel like, sort of metaphorically reflected who Tonya Harding is, if that makes sense, because it was insane.
I think the moment that stands out for me is the skating routines, because as much as Margot Robbie trained for it, it wasn't all her doing the stuff. You had professional skaters that were doing a routine as well. Editing Margot Robbie's face and head onto pros is seamless.
Yeah, it was.
You couldn't tell. You thought it was Margot Robbie the entire time.
Yeah.
As much as she knows how to skate.
And a lot of the routines were continuous shots. So in order to edit 3 different skaters all together, that's also something to be awarded for. The next category is foreign language film. And we're going to skip over this.
I saw one movie out of this category and it made me uncomfortable.
I've heard a lot about A Fantastic Woman, and I've seen the trailer for it a couple times, and it looks really interesting to me. So
does The Square, but we don't know enough about either one to actually form opinions, and I can't give you an actual honest opinion or prediction based on the one movie that I saw.
So our next category is makeup and hairstyling, and the nominees we have Darkest Hour, Victoria and Abdul, and Wonder.
The makeup and hairstyling for these are all fairly unique, as you have Darkest Hour transforming Gary Oldman into Winston Churchill, which when I first saw the trailer for the movie, I did not believe that it was Gary Oldman. The only thing that told me that it was Gary Oldman was the voice that I heard. It was phenomenal. Victoria and Abdul blew it out of the water with how they showed Victoria's appearance before and after meeting Abdul, because they go from her being very much worn out and bored, and it kind of looked like the life was just leaving her, versus after, where she just had this nice, like, healthy glow, and that was very well translated through the makeup. And then you have Wonder, where they recreated Colin's Treacher syndrome through prosthetics, and it took me watching behind the scenes stuff to figure out that the kid playing Augie does not have Colin's Treacher syndrome, and I did not believe that at first.
Yeah, very realistic, very well done. My prediction for this is The Darkest Hour.
I think it could honestly go either Darkest Hour or Wonder, because of the prosthetics. Prosthetics were like just so good. Yeah. Next up, we have original score. We have Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, Shape of Water, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. We are both very huge fans of Alexandre Desplat, but I think, if anything, it might just go to John Williams for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So we all love ourselves some John Williams. Whether it's, Harry Potter or Star Wars. He also did Indiana Jones.
Any family classic.
Any family classic, it's
John Williams.
Like,
But my personal pick for it is The Shape of Water. I really did enjoy that soundtrack. But I also think that it could possibly go to Phantom Thread. It was one of those soundtracks where you just kind of forget that it's there, but it's always in the background and it always plays a part within the story. And I've even seen some reviews talking about how the soundtrack was a fourth character in the film, which I definitely, looking back on it, I agree. Without it, it definitely wouldn't have been the same story.
I think if the soundtrack plays that big of a role in it, then it should win something.
Yeah.
And then we go to original song. We have Mighty River from Mudbound, Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name, Remember Me from Coco, Stand Up for Something from Marshall, and This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. So we both saw and absolutely fell in love with Call Me By Your Name, and Mystery of Love was very well integrated into it.
Very.
And since it was commissioned by Luca Guadagnino, I think that's how you pronounce his name. But since it was commissioned and it was like written for the movie, and they actually like put it in behind the scene, it evoked emotion, so you could feel more emotion to what was actually happening on screen, versus Mighty River, which didn't make an appearance until the credits. We really want Call Me By Your Name, but if anything, it's most likely going to go to The Greatest Showman.
We both definitely want Mystery of Love to win, but as you said, This Is Me is a popular favorite.
The Greatest Showman has been getting a whole bunch of buzz. It's like everyone's new favorite movie. I can easily see that winning.
So next we have the big one. We've got Best Picture, and our nominees are Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Naturally, I won't Call Me By Your Name to win, but I think it could also go to Get Out or The Shape of Water.
Yeah, my pick, I'm definitely going with the majority for this one, and I'm leaning towards The Shape of Water. But for a good reason, I think. The story itself is really down my alley of storytelling, and it's just a beautiful combination of so many different things. It's a fairy tale, but it's grounded in real life. And there are so many different things going on and so many beautiful characters that all kind of reminded me of previous films that I've loved, and that's why I'm kind of partial to that one. And I think that that one could win. But also, I know 3 Billboards has been picking up a lot leading up to this.
Yeah.
So that could be up there as well.
And Get Out has a huge following. Call Me By Your Name. That's just so good. So good. All right, next up we have Production Design. And our nominees are Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, and The Shape of Water.
So again, The Shape of Water, I feel like the production design on this one was phenomenal because you had it in the Cold War era, so you had to have all of that, you know, the 60s and the clothing.
You had to make sure that it felt right within the time. So
Right.
everything had to match, from the technology, the clothing, to the raw culture.
But at the same time, it's very whimsical and very unrealistic. So the amphibian man and the theater that Eliza's apartment is over, it's all very much ornate but simple, and I don't know, it's just beautiful all around. And that's my pick, and that's my prediction as well.
I think either Shape of Water or Blade Runner 2049, along with the cinematography, it was made to look really, really cool.
Yeah. And also replicating the original.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So playing off of that original aesthetic, transferring it into something more modern was very well done. Okay, so for animated short film, we have Dear Basketball, Garden Party, Lou, Negative Space, and Revolting Rhymes. Of these, I have seen one, and it was the Pixar short Lou.
Of these, I have seen 0.
Yeah.
So I can't have an opinion on any of these.
Like I said, I've only seen this one, so I can't really pick something relative to the others. But Lou was adorable, as all Pixar shorts are. It was very sweet and endearing. So if anyone has to win, I'm rooting for Pixar again.
All right, we're going to skip over live action short film, as neither of us has seen any of those, so we don't see it, to be fair, that we try to predict any of them.
Yeah.
We're going to go into sound editing, and our nominees are Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. Going off of film editing and those opinions, Baby Driver all the way.
Same here.
And again, with the going back to that title sequence of the audio being synced to the video, where it's the 3 minutes of the continuous shot and matching the lyrics that are graffitied in the background. Like, that is so cool.
And just throughout the entire film, the fact that the script is based on music, you know, the sound editing between all of the different music, and then the track of all of the different fights that break out.
And everything is very much timed to the music. And it's only very specific scenes that don't have any music involved in them whatsoever.
Yeah, so the synchronization is something that definitely stands out with this one. Next we have sound mixing. We have Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars The Last Jedi.
They are the exact same as sound editing.
And again...
Like with sound editing, Baby Driver, all the way.
That's what we're rooting for. But also, I think, based on last year, Hacksaw Ridge won in this category, and I haven't seen Dunkirk yet, but since it's the same genre, since it's the same...
It's another war movie.
Yeah, and
it is very much very loud.
And immersive. So I think that one...
It has a possibility of winning.
Yeah.
Just because if we're following the pattern of Hacksaw Ridge last year winning, then it's possible for Dunkirk to win for the same reason.
But Baby Driver.
We got visual effects. We have Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and War for the Planet of the Apes.
I think we both went for the same prediction on this one. We don't really have a preference, but Blade Runner 2049, again, with cinematography and production design, all of that, the visual effects for it, it's sci-fi. So it's obviously going to have a lot of weight in that category.
Oh, yeah. Going to adapted screenplay, we have Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Logan, Molly's Game, and Mudbound. We both went for the same prediction and pick, which was Call Me By Your Name.
Yes.
As looking into it and discovering that I think the only difference between the book and the movie is
the way that Elio and Oliver's rooms are connected. Because in the movie it's through a Jack and Jill bathroom, but in the book, I haven't read it, but I've heard that it's a bridge that crosses outside. And if that's the only thing that's different, then that's definitely a wonderful adaptation.
And because it also, if I'm going off of like previous things that it's been winning, it won a BAFTA for adaptation. So I think if Call Me By Your Name wins anything, it should be adapted screenplay.
And lastly, we have original screenplay. For this, we have nominees The Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. For this one, I'm going with Get Out as my pick and prediction.
I'm going to have to completely agree with that.
Yeah, I think that the timeliness of a lot of the messages that come from this movie is something that should definitely be commended. I don't know, it seems like it's very smart, very slick with the way that it tells its story, and complex, but also simple enough to get the message across in the time that it has, and to leave you with something to think about as you leave the theater.
Yeah.
That's it. We got through the whole list. And we want to hear your guys' picks and predictions as well.
Tell us what your favorite movie out of all the nominees are.
Yeah. What was your favorite movie of 2017? I bet it was probably on this list. It covered a lot of ground.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So, it was nice to see you for once.
For now, I'm Sarah Barclay.
And I'm Emily McTire. And you've been watching Concept Cinema. Okay, that's it.